Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Russell Jackman. Not sure if Mike's going to join us today. He's still on assignment, but he might get back in time. And if he doesn't, we got a lot to talk about. At each commercial break, we're going to ask a trivia question. This one is just kind of miscellaneous trivia. We had some fun with that last time, so we're going to do that again. And boy, there is a lot to talk about.
I think it's the most action-packed version of Sports Econ 101 that we may have ever had. Sometimes we have to reach for stories and find something to talk about, but not today. Not today.
Yeah.
Especially the weekend we just had and the news that we've gotten of so many significant things that have happened. You know, we are kind of in this, before we get into everything, this is one of those like critical mass times of sports where all the sports kind of meet at one point in time. October is that basketball is about to start. Football is, in full swing. Baseball is about to hit the playoffs. And college football, is even a thing, which we probably won't even get to today with all the other subjects. So it's a miasma, I think, is what.
Heard that term. I do have one college thing, football to talk about, but it's not a huge thing, but we'll get to it. And then, holy smokes, Buster Posey is going to be the new president of the Giants.
That locally, that's the biggest thing. That's and I don't think there's ever been. I was thinking about this in the Bay Area history. I don't think there's been an executive that has been so celebrated to have gone since Chris Cohan of the Warriors. When Chris Cohan got removed as owner of the Warriors and sold the team to Lakewood.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hey, stay with us, Russell. Audience, stay with us. Sports Econ 101. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown along with Russell Jackman. All right, Russell, where do you want to start? A lot of good stuff to go over.
Well, I think the first thing we should do, as much as the Buster Posey thing means something to us locally, we really should talk about the death of Pete Rose. I think that's probably happened yesterday, and I know everyone's going to be hearing it Saturday. But if there could be a more controversial name in sports, other than maybe Barry Bonds, the number 2 or number 1 on that list is Pete Rose.
Number 1,
and
I think he would be number 1.
And so I was surprised that in his last few years, he didn't really come clean on everything that happened and still was holding out hope that he would get into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
He did go on TV. I mean, he did finally admit that he did gamble and he was upset with himself for not coming clean earlier. But you said there was more stuff even after that?
I am certain in my own heart that, and with everything that's been presented, that Pete Rose not only gambled on the Reds while he was manager, but I think the real truth is that he gambled on his team to lose.
I was just gonna say if I was wondering if you were going to get to that, because he always seemed to put it out there that he only bet on them to win. And we had this many years ago. We talked about this on the show, and I had someone come on who was saying, because I said, well, if you bet on your team to win, what's the big deal? And he said, well, if you're kind of managing, imagine, you decide to put all your closers, back to back to get the most powerful win. And then you don't really care that much about games, 2, 3, and 4 in that series.
That's a good point.
If you haven't, right? I mean, then
it's so hard to guarantee a win, but it's much easier to guarantee that you could lose.
Exactly. Yeah, there's something very un-American about betting on your team to lose, and we haven't actually
un-American. It's completely unethical in every sense of the word. I don't care if you're in Bogota. I don't care.
Baseball is supposed to be America's team, America's sport. So that's where I came up with that.
I don't care if you're playing soccer, in Argentina, or playing tiddlywinks in the North Pole. If you purposely, why play a game if you're going to actually intentionally lose?
Just
Why
for
even
money.
go out there?
Well, just for money. I mean, it's just the
but I mean, I hate to say it, as much as I love pro wrestling, I mean, then you are really in the area of pro wrestling where you're just predetermining a game. You're saying that, the game that you're about to watch already has one side that isn't going to play its full potential. So they're guaranteeing that they're going to lose.
And I'm gonna go on a little bit of a limb here because I don't really know enough about this sort of thing, but I'm gonna guess, even if you're like, I gotta assume that Pete Rose, made a good living. There might be something in the challenge, like apparently, like even Michael Jordan, he'll bet on anything, in golf, like a stroke,
Right.
or that sort of thing, right? And so there's some people, I think, who have such a gambling persona that just the excitement, and even if you're not betting a lot of money, just the excitement of I'm going to win, I'm competitive, I'm going to win this bet.
But Edward,
because I can.
Right? You can bet on so many things.
Mm-hmm.
You can bet you can go to England and bet on presidential races. You can bet on the length of the national anthem at the Super Bowl. You can bet on anything in the world. Why do you bet on your own sport?
Again, I'm just sort of throwing this out in the wind because you can have an impact on it.
Bet on cards. Bet on dice.
Yeah. Well,
bet on the horses. Bet on the dogs.
Yeah, but you can't. You can't really have an impact on the dogs per se. Unless you're going to drug them or something.
That is a sickness. That when you.
Oh, yeah. No, I totally agree.
And that's why I have voted against every gambling
me too.
proposition that has come to California. I voted for the lottery, and that was like in the 90s, right?
Yeah, and you know what the big problem with that is?
I've been furious that I did ever since. I regretted that decision.
So for those who don't or not that familiar, California had passed, a lot of states have the lottery. And the theory was, well, look, all this great money is going to go to the schools. Yeah. Well, what did the federal government do? They go, oh, well, look, California's got all this money for schools. We don't need to give our federal money to it. Yeah. And so the schools didn't really benefit.
And California shifted the money away from the schools and put it into the general fund. It goes into the general fund and not into the just to school, to help schools out. And that money has been, pretty much, not to be. Now, I don't want to get whacked by the mob here, but I think it winds up going back to, the special interests that
get lit on fire.
that
put light it on fire a lot
together. Yeah. So
the question.
I can see why Pete Rose was never let back in. I think that was one of the big secrets that died with Selig and Rose is that Rose bet on these games, and that's why to lose, and that's why he was never let back in. Because
you got to figure that there's got to be bookies. He's got to bet with somebody.
Yeah,
someone's going to know.
So I think now, it's like with OJ. I think eventually there's going to that certain of these people are gone. The truth eventually, streams out. When people feel like they can get away. Now that this person's gone.
Yeah, it's okay. I think I was just watching something on OJ recently, and I'm thinking, why did they let him put a glove underneath a glove? Because of course it's not going to fit, even if it would have been normal.
One of the stupidest juries in the history of juries.
Well, look what happened. Remember, one guy raised his arm did you remember that when he came out of the jury box? He raised his arm, like victory. And it was
embarrassing. I could do an entire show from start to finish about the OJ trial.
Yeah,
it ruined American jurisprudence and judicial. It showed everything that's wrong with the American justice system is encompassed in that the entire trial from start to finish. I have like 100 points I could like tell you about what's wrong with that.
Sure you could.
Time for that because we have so many other things to talk about.
We do. Before we go to a break, because we have to go to break here really soon. So, does Pete Rose belong in like they've talked about having like I don't know. We sort of joked about like they should have a Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame, or Hall of Fame. A Hall of Fame that goes on a different part of the Hall of Fame. That it's like these guys should have been in, but
the bathroom. I've always said that's where that's the place to place it is on the hallway that leads to the bathroom. You know, and in the bathroom itself, you have like, you know, the people that really have had questionable pasts, like Ty Cobb and Sheila
Joe. I read a little bit more about him.
Yeah,
he wasn't this big racist that everybody thought he was.
You know, it is hard without any kind of like, you know, eyewitnesses and people that you can interview. And I mean, people certainly at that time, the media could easily slam somebody and you have no accountability for it. You have no.
Well, okay. So one specific guy, Cap Anson. Now he actually kept black people out after Fleetwood Walker in the 1880s up until, you know, the close to the time of Jackie Robinson. I mean, he was a guy who could get taken away. Okay, you ready for our first commercial trivia question break here?
Yeah.
Here we go. What was the first company to be valued at $1 billion? Email Edward at sportsecon101.com. See if you know the answer. See who the first person who knows the answer to this question. What was the first company to be valued at $1 billion? All right, stay with us. Sports Econ 101 will be right back. Don't touch that dial.
There's so many.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. One more time, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman. Our first trivia question, what was the first company to be valued at $1 billion?
I need the industry.
Okay. I can't give you the industry or else it'll give you the name. But you got to go back in time. I'd say the late 1800s.
1800s. I'd say Union Pacific Railroad.
No, and again, I'm guessing the 1800s. U.S. Steel.
U.S. Steel. Okay.
U.S. Steel was the first one.
Yeah, probably because of the railroads. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Okay. Next. Go ahead.
Here's where I wanted to go with because this is our thick segment, isn't it? We have a lot of time to talk about.
The next one's a little bit more, but that's okay.
I wanted to talk about the Vincent K. McMahon documentary on Netflix.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've heard anything about it or know anything about it, but there's a 6-part series on Netflix about Vince McMahon. And do you have Netflix? I don't even know if you do.
Yeah, I did, but go ahead.
And it's pretty amazing. I think that it's. I mean, for a person that has been involved in wrestling like I have for as many years, I know most of these stories. But for someone like yourself that hasn't been as immersed in it, it's a pretty fascinating walk through Vince McMahon's life in the WWE and how we got to where we are now. And the interview was done while Vince was still owner of the WWE and just before the allegations that were leveled against him by the Janet Grinnell case, which is that
you might have to educate the audience on that.
Yes, Vince McMahon, obviously, you know, sadly, one of the richer people in the world, thanks to a deal that he had with the fight with the UFC TKO Productions.
Okay.
And that's Dana White and all that stuff. He's now worth $9 billion, but he had a non-disclosure agreement set with a settlement with a lady that he had a relationship with that is now alleging that Vince McMahon kept her in a sex dungeon and let guys selectively rape her and do just absolutely horrible, horrible things. I mean, stuff that I know you like a G-rated show. And so I can't even begin to describe some of the twisted stuff. And the problem is Vince McMahon has this gigantic history of sexual harassment and just settling lawsuits with everybody that he's run across, that he's done really sick, perverted things to. And I want you to watch that documentary, Edward, because I want you to watch what a pathological businessman is all about. Because I know sometimes I think you think big business can run itself and it's okay for money to talk. But a guy like Vince McMahon shows you what happens when that goes completely off the needle, when the needle goes completely off the record. And that is a man does anything he wants because he has the money to do it. And he treats people just, for instance, last night I saw the episode where they talk about the death of Owen Hart. And I know that you probably don't remember that at all, but he was a wrestler.
No, a little bit. I mean, I remember he died, but I don't remember.
He died doing a stunt. He died in the ring, and because he was supposed to be lowered by a harness, and the harness, for all fairness to Vince McMahon, the harness broke. It was defective, and it wasn't Vince McMahon's fault, but Vince McMahon had the show go on after a wrestler died in the middle of the ring. And to watch Vince McMahon's explanation about why you would continue a show after someone in the ring has died is one of the more blood-curdling and...
You have to send me a link. Send me a link on that.
Yeah, well, you have to go. It's on Netflix. It's in season. It's episode 4. But the look of his eyes, his expression, the way he talks, is the way a murderer talks about their victim. In just, I don't care that this person died. The show must go on because it's a business, and that sort of just steamroll. Like, we don't care that.
It reminds me, though, interestingly enough, of the opposite when Damar Hamlin had his art thing. I mean, it was so like important that both teams said, you know what, we're not even going to continue the game.
Yes, and that's worth even way more than a single WWE house show that's not even like a WrestleMania or anything like that. That was Vince made the choice to keep going. And like the wrestlers didn't want to do it. The wrestlers were performing in a ring where Owen Hart's blood was still on the mat.
When the harness broke, how high was he, and what did he do? Break his neck?
78 feet.
Oh my gosh! And then when
he
break it,
fell on the ring post.
Oh.
His head and chin fell on the ring post.
Yeah, that's kind of gruesome too. It's not just
but it happened like the fans didn't see it. It was like so quick, that the fans didn't really, except for, sadly enough, I have a friend who was in the audience at the time it happened. But they didn't know, like most of the the WWE did not announce that Owen Hart had died in the ring.
Did they have a bunch of paramedics go there right away?
Yes, they did. Okay. And so they did say that he was hurt, but they didn't say that he was dead. I mean, they knew the everyone who was like in the ring at the time knew he was dead. But they didn't announce that to the fans. They just said he was hurt.
Did they just like quickly get him off the ring and then go?
Yeah.
Wow.
But the show had to go on. And even Vince McMahon said, if that happened to me, go ahead and keep doing the show. I'm just
Now,
like,
interesting though. I wonder if Owen, like, if he showed signs of life, would they have
no.
just like Damar Hamlin? No, no, no. I'm saying if he did, would they have done like Damar Hamlin, just basically like try to resuscitate him right there and just? I mean, I can't imagine Vince kind of going, well, he's injured. Show must go on. Get him out of here. You know,
He
who
would.
knows?
He would.
He
He
would. Yeah.
absolutely does not care. To him, the WWE as a show and as a business means more than human lives. And that chilled me so much and just tells
Yeah.
me that, I know we said this is Sports Econ 101, it's about money. But I also think that when business gets so intense that it's more than
Yeah.
what a human life is worth, then I don't
Yeah.
want to be part of that business. I don't want to
Wow.
be part of a business that's like that. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
we've had people get hurt, in the indie shows that I've done. But we've
Yeah.
stopped the show, and fortunately no one's ever been hurt that badly while I've been
Mhm.
around in any of the shows that I've done. But we don't keep the match going if somebody gets hurt or anything like that. That's when you take it home, and if it's bad enough, I mean, I think we would cancel the show rather than keep going if somebody was seriously hurt. Money can't be that important.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. At some point, you got to kind of put your morals.
But I think you would find that documentary really fascinating if you sat down and watched it. I think that it's well worth, because the history also, to tell the history of the WWF and the WWE and wrestling
Yeah,
is to tell the history of the United States. You see a lot of cultural norms and sort of the way the attitude was of the United States is very much
mm,
encapsulated by how wrestling itself changes from the 80s to the 90s
huh?
to the 2000s. You'll see if you bother to check it out. So that was a fascinating documentary series that I don't think with Mike around he would have wanted to talk about it, but I wanted to make that.
Yeah.
And then while we
No,
have a
no,
couple
it's very
seconds
interesting.
left,
Yeah.
I do want to give a tribute to Kembe Mutombo.
Yeah, 58 years old.
Scares me like heck. I'm 56. I'm 57. I just turned
Well,
57.
I've already passed 58, so maybe I don't have to worry anymore.
Brain
Um,
cancer is just awful. I didn't know he was
yeah,
sick. He'll always be
I know.
remembered for the finger wag.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I tell you, those commercials he did in the last like 10 years or even less than that.
Yeah, yeah,
So funny. Gosh,
yeah,
it was
yeah.
just great. It's
He didn't take
bad.
himself too seriously, and
Yeah.
he'll also be remembered of when he's lying on his back with the basketball over his head in that when he beat Denver in the
Yeah.
I mean when he beat Seattle in the first
Yeah, because he
round.
played for Denver. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
remember. Hey, Russ, you got to cut to our second break.
Got
Quick
it.
trivia question. Okay, what is the highest grossing film of all time? And I'm going to see if you can guess numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you probably will guess at least one of them in that. All right,
And
stay with us.
adjusted for inflation, right?
What's that?
Adjusted for inflation, right?
No, no, I don't think they did that. Just how
Okay.
much? Yeah, and don't worry, we're not going back to 1920. All
Okay.
right, stay with us. Sports Econ 101. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown along with Russell Jackman here. Question for you. What is the highest grossing film of all time? We'll see if you can guess the top four.
Well, I
What's
think
the highest?
Titanic was one of them.
That's actually number 4. At one
Number
point
4.
it was number 1.
God, I hated that movie.
That was 1997.
Yes.
These came after that. So a
Super
little more
Mario
recent.
Brothers made a lot of money, didn't it?
Not that much.
No, it didn't make
And actually, one of these has two of them in the number 1 and number 3, because there was like a like how they have like Rocky 1, Rocky
yes.
2. It was that sort of thing.
Toy Story?
Which Toy Story? No.
No. Because
Okay, I'll give you number 1 and number 3. Number 1 was Avatar, and number 3 was Avatar: The Way of Water. Now I saw Avatar.
Avatar: The Way of Water made that much money?
Yeah,
I haven't even
yeah.
seen it. I didn't want to see it. I hated
I
the
haven't. I
first one.
know. I didn't see it. I guess the popularity of Avatar
I
made
hated the
Avatar.
first one. Despised.
It was a little weird. It was a little weird.
I just here's let me take a second since it's the long version of the
Yeah,
this thing. Here's the part I don't like about any movie is I'm a guy that needs premise. I need
yeah,
the premise of a movie to make sense for me to
yeah,
or it has to purposely not make sense. But once it doesn't make sense to me. So for instance, Avatar,
yeah,
if we can fly to another planet and we've got extra ability, the ability to fly light years away,
yeah.
what the heck could another planet have that we could possibly need? Because we can already fly.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, if we found life there that we didn't like, do you think we would send human beings over there to attack stuff? Or would we just use robots? We're already using drones on our own planet to attack things.
Russell, you are too
Logical.
logical. You're too logical. It's like there was a movie, The Color of Water, I think it was.
I
That
did
was such
miss
a
that too.
weird. That was, and that won an Academy Award. That was. I like Michael Shannon. He's a good actor, but it was such a weird movie. Okay, so what was the number two?
Gee, I hope it was something cool like Star Wars because my God, of the three movies that you mentioned, I hate all of them. So it's hard to believe
Yeah.
that I hate.
Oh, you didn't like Titanic? You didn't like Titanic?
Oh God, if you had another hour, I'd tell you about all the things I hate about Titanic. Yes.
Okay, well, we don't have another hour, but we'll have to go into that another time. No, actually, it was Avengers Endgame.
Hmm.
So,
That's probably out of the four, that's the one I didn't hate. But I didn't love
yeah,
that one that much because I'm getting even as a comic book guy, I'm getting tired of
yeah.
superhero stuff that is just so generic where you're seeing the same types of scenes over and
You
over.
know, so am I. I mean, I like the old like to me like Superman 2 was
Superman one. Superman one.
Superman 1 was good, but I thought Superman 2 was even better.
It has more
Yeah,
action, but Superman
yeah,
one captured the ethos of Superman
yeah,
better than they've tried to remake
sure,
Superman like five,
yeah,
6 times.
yeah.
Christopher Reeve, my mom absolutely loved Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
In fact, he
Yeah.
has a movie that's coming out about him,
Oh, really?
about his struggle and everything that he did. When my mom was sick and going through a terrible blood disease, he
Hmm.
was a major inspiration to her.
What? So you're talking about after he fell off the
Yeah,
horse?
after he fell off the horse.
Yeah. I mean, that was just. I remember that being such a devastating news.
And yet he maintained such an amazingly positive attitude
Yeah.
during the
And his
entire
wife was
time.
right there. She was great.
Yeah, no, that's something
Yeah.
that, everyone should look at and say, if I could approach the world the way that Christopher Reeve approached the world
Yeah.
after that, he had every reason to be bitter and angry
Yeah.
about his situation. And in fact, it
Yeah.
unlocked him and made him a more compassionate and beautiful human being. And
Yeah.
the movie
Yeah,
that
and he was. I mean, I really enjoyed him as being Superman. Hey, can we go back to sports for just a minute
yeah,
here? Okay, two things. One, this is my college football thing for the day. UNLV quarterback to sit out after being promised $100,000 that wasn't paid. Remember now, college
yeah.
athletes
Now
can.
we're getting into the fact that these athletes are, and I don't know what to say about that. I mean, these schools owe these kids money now. I mean, it's like
Yeah, it's you know what someone brought up though. One time, someone brought up the thing is if a kid gets a college football scholarship, and he gets a free ride, he's kind of been given a fair amount of money in value, right? Because he doesn't have to pay for college.
yeah, but
So in
not
a sense,
$10,000 worth, is it? I mean, maybe in
well,
some
it depends on.
colleges, but not where this guy was going. Not
Yeah, no,
UNLV.
and get this. So at the time he decided to sit out, UNLV was undefeated. Now
Oh,
I don't know what division they're in, but just the idea of can you imagine sitting out when you're undefeated because you promised $100,000 that
well,
wasn't
we
paid. And I don't
saw,
know.
Le'Veon Bell destroying an
Yeah,
entire, I mean, Pittsburgh's never really been
much of a contender since Le'Veon Bell ruined his entire season, and then he ruined his entire career basically because
Yeah,
he
going to
never
the
was the
Jets.
same. And of course, when
Yeah.
did I draft him number 1 overall for my fantasy league? Was the stupid year that he sat out. And guess who I drafted number 1 overall in my fantasy league this year?
Christian McCaffrey.
Thank you very much.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. I am like the living Madden curse for my.
Well, you know what? You should advertise to the teams to have them pay you.
Yes.
Not.
We've talked about that. Me and my friends have talked about that very thing. Is I should inform like whatever team that I draft as the number 1 overall draft pick that watch out because they put your guy in bubble wrap because in fact that's the story that we should just quickly talk about. What do you think about the fact that McCaffrey had to fly to Germany to get his hamstring and calf treated? And
when's he supposed to come back?
He's back. He went and it was done.
No. What I mean is, when is he going to play?
Oh, well, that's a good question. And that's for fantasy owners. This is what's really maddening is that a guy like Shanahan really enjoys playing games with the press as far as like saying, hey, this guy is ready to play. He loves to wait till Sunday at like 12:59 p.m.
Yeah, I bet the sports bettors hate that.
Yeah, fantasy people hate it, because the game time decision is like the most fantasy things. You have to have your lineup in first thing 9 a.m. on West Coast time. It's a little bit easier when it's East Coast time. You have till 12 to submit it. But you
know what though, like if I'm Shanahan, I can kind of understand. I mean, I don't want to tip my hand to my opponent as to that way they can start planning appropriately.
Yes, but what they're not going to plan appropriately, whether or not you say something like that, they're still going to plan to beat you because that's just the way that.
True. But then they say, oh well, now the running game. Now of course this guy Mason's doing a great job, but if you think McCaffrey's going to be in and healthy, you might want to plan your defense a little differently. Right?
I think that when McCaffrey's ready to go, it's going to be such a big story that it's going to be hard to hide it. It's going to be.
Well, okay, that's true. Hey, really quickly, just a little basketball thing here. So, this popped into my head a couple of days ago. Caitlin Clark. Now she didn't make the playoffs, but she reminds me of when Tiger Woods effectively put golf on the map.
Yeah.
Now, when I say that, I mean, obviously Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus. I mean, it was very, very popular.
No, I get it. Yeah, she's a breakout. Right? She's breaking out. She's like, or we could say the way Hulk Hogan made wrestling popular across,
the Rocky movie,
right?
Rocky 3. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that exactly. And does it? Don't you think that she did that? I mean, she put the WNBA kind of in the spotlight. Let's say, yeah, they like nobody really kind of. And I say nobody. I mean, I'm saying that kind of generically. Nobody really cared about the WNBA, but suddenly, she's been Caitlin Clark, and suddenly people start kind of being a little bit more.
To get that cross sport thing. I think what she needs to do is win a title. I think that she wins a title, then I think people might start watching the WNBA just to see her play because people will say.
Well, I think they definitely were doing that during this season because she's coming out
large numbers of people. I mean, she's definitely converted people over to the WNBA, but I think when you talk like people started watching wrestling that had never watched wrestling before because they wanted to see the phenomenon that's Hulk Hogan. People watched Jordan play because they just wanted to say, I saw Michael Jordan play. People are starting to watch Ohtani play because they want to say, I saw Ohtani play, to their grandchildren.
Well, for me, I watched Willie Mays because he was the greatest who ever lived.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't just to say that I didn't like when I was, 7 years old to say, "Oh, okay, I want to see him just so I can tell my kids and grandkids I saw Willie Mays." But I mean, you wanted to see someone exciting, you go watch Willie
but you
Mays
have
play.
told your kids, and you probably will tell your grandkids
Oh yeah,
that
yeah,
you saw Willie Mays. So
yeah,
that turned out that way, and it's the same. You want to be able to say you want to say you saw Muhammad Ali fight, right?
yeah, yeah,
Because that's generational talent, and it doesn't really matter
yeah.
what the sport is. You want to say that you saw.
Well,
I was trying to
uh,
think from the Olympics. The
well, Bruce Jenner, Mark Spitz,
Yeah,
you
or
know,
even just recently, the lady who
Michael Phelps, Simone Biles, and all that. But and then
yeah,
going actually back to that, and I've told the story before, but I won't go through the whole story. But when I was 14 years old, my mom's great uncle came to visit us, and when he found out I liked baseball, he told me that he used to watch Hannes Wagner play.
yeah, yeah. So there's something to be said. Caitlin Clark is starting to get there, but I don't think she's there yet. I think
No,
she's
not yet. I mean, it's she's just coming out of rookie season.
yeah. I think a
Yeah,
title will change a lot of things, though. She becomes a
yeah.
champion and starts representing the league. I think it's weird because the league has not totally embraced her. I think there's been a lot of jealousy. And
Well, and I think it's because she's white, and I don't like that. It's I understand rookies are rookies, and so if it's a rookie thing, it's a rookie thing. But
because she's
a lot of people,
well, that's what I want to see is if she next year, now that she's established herself, if
yeah,
the league embraces her more, and
that's a good point.
yeah, maybe it
Yeah.
is. I can't tell whether it's because she's so young and they are kind of jealous, or is it because of racial thing.
Well, I think it's a couple of things because here she's a rookie coming out, right, getting all this
yes,
attention
yes,
versus all these people, all these women who have been there for a few years.
right.
I tell you, what, let's cut to our last commercial break here. You'll like this question because you said you like comic books,
I
right?
do.
Okay, so remember, don't say anything yet.
Hopefully it's
I know you
Marvel.
know the answer. Come back when we come back. You'll give it. What was Dennis the Menace's last name?
Oh,
And let's see if you can remember his dog's name.
okay. I do remember his dog.
Oh, you do remember his dog.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Let's see here. Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We are going to be right back with some closing comments. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman. Hopefully next week. Well, it'll probably be a couple of weeks before Mike comes back. That's okay. All right. So what was Dennis the Menace's last name?
Well, first of all, I want to go with the dog, and that's
Okay,
Ruff,
the dog?
isn't it?
Ruff. That's right.
Yes, because he could say his own name. Now, second of all, I think it's Mitchell.
Yes.
Yes.
Very good.
First I was thinking Ketchum. I'm like, no, that's the name of the artist. That's the last name of the artist.
Yeah. Catch him, yeah.
but now bigger question. What's Mr. Wilson's first name?
Owen. No. George.
I think it was Ralph. I don't remember. It might have been George.
Oh, you can't ask me a question and not know the
No,
answer. You leave
I,
me in suspenders, man.
well, you know what? I guess you'd have to look it up on the net. But I think it's Ralph Wilson.
Ralph?
Ralph. R-A-L-P-H.
Ralph Wilson? No. We'll have to come back on that one next time. Okay, you ready? Here's our stupid joke of the week. Did you hear about the pasta that got locked out of its house? Out of his house? Gnocchi. No key.
No key. No, that's not a good one. That
That's
one.
I know. That's what I said.
That
It's a
one.
stupid
That
joke.
me. If I am wrong with the Ralph thing, you
We'll have to look
definitely
that one up.
you got
All
to
right.
have to have a better joke than that.
I know, though I said that was a stupid joke of the week. Okay, so now here's our thoughts for the day. Never tell your problems to anyone. 20% don't care, and the other 80% are glad you have them. That's bad.
Yes.
And you'll like this one. You probably know this one. My internet's so slow, it's just faster to drive to the Google headquarters and ask them stuff in person.
I'm
That's a
sure
pretty
there are
slow
people that
internet.
do that. I'm sure there are people that
You know
yeah.
what? I'll bet you you're right. Okay, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Adios.
So long. All right, my friend. So remember,
when
we're
do we
out.
need that paperwork back from us? I just got to discuss it with Owen.
Okay, so I'm out for 2 weeks, but if you did you get? I think I forwarded it to you from Matt.
Yes.
Okay, you can send it back to Matt.
Okay, I'll let Owen know.
Okay, and then I should give you wiring instructions.
Yes.
I'll
Or can we just send a check?
Yeah, you can just send. Yeah, you can just
Yeah,
send.
we both want to send checks.
Okay, so just shoot.
Because wiring costs
Okay,
a lot.
I'm out 6th. I'm out the 6th through the 18th. So,
Can we do this even while you're away?
yeah, I mean the checks will just sit in my mailbox, but
We could probably get you the checks before the 6th.
well, today's Tuesday, so how do you want to do that?
Because I haven't had a chance to talk. Well,
Okay.
what if we send the checks to Matt?
No, you don't send it to Mac because remember these are what's happening is remember these loans I've had in my portfolio.
Oh,
so they belong to me, and I'm the guy who's saying, okay, if you want these 2 loans, this is what the circumstances are.
I mean,
So
Owen and I aren't in a rush to get it done. I mean, we can wait till you get back on the 18th.
okay, we can do that.
I'll just tell Owen it'll all happen after the 18th. He's fine. He's fine with it.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah,
That's probably better for me too, anyway, because I got a whole bunch of stuff going on. I got a colonoscopy coming up. I've got a tooth I got to have filled. It just.
It's funny. Have you ever had a colonoscopy?
Oh yeah, I have.
It's funny. I was like really concerned because my old business partner had one, and back then it was extremely uncomfortable because the stuff tasted terrible and blah 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 blah. Yeah, that's what you tell me, right? So my wife finally got me to do it when I was 60, and it wasn't that bad. I mean, I was really surprised.
The drinking the stuff is pretty awful. I don't enjoy.
You know what? Well, when's the last time you had one?
About 6 years ago.
You know what? They may have changed. Like I said,
because
3 years ago,
I drank,
and it was like
it was great flavored,
like,
and I wanted to throw up after every glass.
Okay. Well, this one for whatever reason, this one didn't taste that bad.
Maybe they've got a better version of it, but it's still not fun having to sit on the john and poo like.
No. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's the one thing you got to make sure that you stay close to.
Yeah. No. I remember when I did it like 6 years ago. I had to borrow the kids' iPads so I could just sit there and watch the Giants game on the internet while I'm just stuck in the bathroom. So yeah, that's coming up.
All right. So just as a reminder, we're off the next 2 weeks.
Okay, and then also a reminder to you: November 13th is my shoulder surgery.
Okay. November 13th. Well, November 13th is a Wednesday.
Yeah. So I'll be doing the show one time on Tuesday, 12th. And then probably the next week. I may be able to do the show the following Tuesday. I'm not sure, the 20th.
Okay. Well, just could you maybe just let me know like the day before?
Okay.
Which would be on the
19th.
Yeah, so let me know on the 18th if you're going to be able to make it.
Yeah, and then Thanksgiving after that, so you're going to probably be off.
Yeah, we'll probably repeat a show or something.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it for this
week.
Very
good, my friend.
I'll talk to you again soon. Good night.
Okay. Goodbye. Bye.